Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Squat Cobbler. I am Dr. Mike. Like and subscribe. You can find me at Official Pagan on everything, but make sure you like and subscribe to Bog Panda on YouTube. And joining me, as always,
And hit the notification bell. I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram, and we are back for a prisoner exchange.
yes, we are. And we had kind of left the prisoner exchanges for a little bit just because we've been so focused on retro gaming. Oh, sir, you're something's with your shirt.
Oh, is it? Is
Yeah.
it?
Do you want
Is
to
it? I don't
adjust that?
know. Yeah. Let me
Oh,
let me
wait a
flip that around.
second. Sir, what kind of shirt is that?
That is the official Bog Panda logo T-shirt available at our store. Link in the description. Let me see if I do it. $20 for men, $19 for ladies tees. Great buy, great quality. I wear it all the time. It is so comfortable. I can't take it off. It is such a comfortable shirt, and it has the Bog Panda logo on it. So I don't know how it gets any better than that.
Right. If that doesn't hit your notification bell, I don't know what will.
That's right. Twice.
But anyway, tonight what we're here to talk about is we wanted to do a little prisoner exchange because we kind of revived it a little bit with the Who sellout, and it seemed like that got a pretty good reaction. So I figured it'd be fun to do something small and short. And of course, Kelly is a huge fan of the band GWAR.
Yep. Got all their stuff.
So he seemed like he would be chomping at the bit to discuss, and it's a little bit topical because this is our first time doing a current release that wasn't Alice.
Yeah, it is.
And so we're covering their new release, their EP, The Disc with No Name, which is an unplugged EP from the band, based on some acoustic sessions that they had done during the pandemic, that inspired them to do an actual acoustic EP. So, what is, joking aside, your familiarity with the band GWAR, sir?
Very, very minimal. Beyond kind of knowing the, um, I know them when I see them, and gosh, I cannot remember the name of it now. The AV Club was they did a thing for a while where they would have a list of songs, and they would bring in different bands to do to different songs, and so the They Might Be Giants tub thumping um, version is a piece of magic. If you haven't seen it, we'll include a link in the description. It's awesome, and my major so I knew kind of who GWAR was because they like see some sort of heavy metal documentary or something like that, and they would get a mention and a little bit of footage, but I didn't really have much depth. But they did the AV Club thing too. Are you familiar with the song they did for that?
They've actually done a bunch of those. They AV Club kept having them back because they were so popular with it. Two of the AV Club songs they did ended up on GWAR albums because their covers became so
Oh
popular.
wow.
Starting with the first one that I was aware of was the Kansas cover.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one
So
I've seen. So
yeah.
so I didn't know there was another one. I'm gonna have to go check that out.
Yeah, there's quite a few. But they also did, and I would say it's better than the Kansas cover. They did a cover of AC/DC's "If You Want Blood"
Okay, that's
that
probably
is really really good, and that ended up on an album as well.
yeah. The less of a juxtaposition for the for Gore doing ACDC than Gore doing Kansas, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair.
But but yeah, so it was cool, and really realistically, even they might be Giants picked a song that was They Might Be Gianty, had lots of tempo changes and adjustments and those types of things, and so yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so it's minimal. I did a little bit of additional research prior to this. Obviously, listened to the EP a few times, but then also just did a little bit of digging. And so some things I didn't know is that this has been a fairly fluid lineup for Gore. It's not quite like uh, a law. It's not a Rolling Stones kind of. They're all the same players all the time, and so um, that's about some things I picked up and just a little bit of the history on them and some spats that appear to be online as different members left and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, there was a few things. the band that exists now, though, actually is more or less the classic lineup of the band. All of those members had left, though, at different points, and then over the years have slowly worked their way back in. So ironically, the version of GWAR that exists now is what, other than lead singer Dave Brockie, who passed away, is, and the lead vocals now are taken over by the original bass player, Mike Bishop. He was the original bass player of the band and sang backup. He left as time went on. After Dave Brockie's death, he came back in to do a couple of tribute shows to him, and the band decided to continue on. And that's what led to essentially the classic lineup of the band reuniting,
Cool.
sort of to honor him and to keep the name going. But GWAR actually started as a collective of artists who were working together throughout college. And they started making comics and short films and things like that. And they created this fictional band who are extraterrestrials who landed in Antarctica and are here to sort of take over the world, but are too lazy and drunk and high most of the time to do anything about it. And created this whole kind of universe around them of comics and feature-length movies and short films and all this other stuff. They probably peaked commercially, like mainstream wise, in the 90s. They released a feature-length movie called Phallus in Wonderland, which was extremely financially successful and nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, that was, and I think, and won some other award too. That was,
yeah, won a few awards, and they've made a few movies, in addition to like concert films and stuff that most bands would do. But they've made a few movies. But the first feature-length movie, Phallus in Wonderland, was a giant hit. And not that that was shown on MTV because it is an R-rated movie, but that got them regular rotation throughout the 90s on MTV late at night. You would see GWAR videos pretty regularly, and they started popping up in movies, not just their music, but the band popping up in movies and different things like that. And I would say the most interesting thing is Dave Brockie became a regular commentator on Fox News based on Phallus in Wonderland. And the commercial success that brought the band, in full costume, became a regular guest on Fox News as their extraterrestrial commentator.
there you go.
Yeah,
See,
so
fair and balanced. So,
yeah, fair and balanced. And but they've comic books, novels, all kinds of really cool stuff that they've done over the years. A few Grammy nominations, bunch of awards. Then Dave Brockie died. And as far as most people were concerned, that was the end, myself included. That was the end of the band. But Mike Bishop came back. He had left the band and got his PhD and became a professor. He returned to the band. And as I had said earlier, is now this version of the band that's continuing touring and playing, well, pre-pandemic touring and playing shows, is essentially the classic lineup of the band that was on their early records.
cool. Very good. I'm assuming the professor didn't profess in full gear.
Actually, he did a TED talk.
In costume?
No, not in costume, but he brought out some of the other members of GWAR in costume, using them as an example of what he was talking about, which is the cultural history of Virginia, and used how GWAR fits into that for it. It's actually my favorite TED talk that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it's worth watching.
Yep, and we'll see what we can do as far as searching and including a link to that as well in the description, because
that is on YouTube. Like, it was a very popular TED talk.
Must see TV there.
And but they're probably best known for their live shows, even to this day. Huge productions. Dwarf Alice Cooper stage shows, and the level of theatrics for it. Gigantic stage setups, different characters. It's a whole, think of it like almost like wrestling, where there's an entire plot line. There are fights between the songs of these giant monsters that fight each other kaiju style and destroy the sets and spray blood all over the audience and different things. It's a lot of fun, but gigantic theatrical production. Every time I've gone to see them live, they sell out very large venues of people who clearly don't even listen to GWAR but are there for the show, which I think is a weird, interesting thing, because I feel like with Alice, while he has the theatrics, people like Alice.
Yeah.
Whereas with GWAR, I think people are just there to see GWAR. I don't even think there's necessarily the same attachment to the songs that everyone has there. But this was an interesting thing because I kind of knew like periphery wise that this existed or was coming out. Hadn't really paid much attention to it though, because I knew it was just re-recordings of some old songs. I guess it didn't really click to me. It was an acoustic EP, which is interesting for GWAR. And a friend of mine from another band got it on vinyl and it was like, "Hey, did you check this out yet?" And I said no. So I immediately jumped on Spotify and I was like, "Kelly needs to hear this."
Indeed. Yep.
So I will start with top line reaction, sir.
So, so so I have gone in with greater fear on some of your recommendations before. Well placed fear, I might add. As we end up making our way through, I think the Dwarves come to mind as perhaps one that was an interesting ride. But so I kind of knew, I knew kind of what I was going to get into here. I've liked what I, why I'm not. I don't have a lot of GWAR posters in my house right now. What when I have seen them and I said the AV Club stuff and all that, I was like, this is pretty cool stuff. I like them. Then the idea saying, oh, they're doing an acoustic album, so well, that ought to be interesting to kind of see how that translates. The one thing that's just that I didn't have time to do and I wish I had is to listen to the original versions of these to gain a better appreciation for the dichotomy between them, which I'm assuming is pretty consistently severe. So I don't have that line of sight to go through, but top line reaction is that I enjoyed it. Quite a bit. It was fun.
Excellent. I'm glad you liked it, sir. And we'll start with the artwork. What did you think when you initially saw the artwork?
That's what I kind of expected GWAR artwork to look like.
Same here. Yeah, that's the sort of over the top comic book violence thing. That's what they're known for. Again, comics are a part of their whole brand and their thing that they do. They are an art collective called the Slave Pit, and GWAR became the kind of center of the universe of that. So, in fact, during his TED talk, Mike Bishop introduces himself as the human slave of the singer of GWAR. So,
yeah, and see this, had Raise Your Fist and Yell kind of gone more GWAR-y on the cover, I still wouldn't like it that much, but it would have helped a little from a standpoint. But yeah, no, it felt fitting. It's kind of what I would expect. Intriguing. The comic stuff, the comic overtones to it and all that are obviously comic book overtones to that are definitely there. A lot going on the cover. It's one of those ones you can kind of look at for a long time and kind of pick up different things on that. But I thought it was really cool.
Very nice. So we'll jump right into it. So I'm only going to make this as easy on Kelly as possible. I'm only going to say the name of the first song once. And so what's interesting about this, they chose 4 songs. There's no new songs. These are reworkings of existing GWAR songs. They chose 2 songs from the current reunited classic lineup band had put out an album called The Blood of Gods. That's their most recent release pre-pandemic. So they chose 2 songs off of that and then 2 classic GWAR songs. And I'll get to those and why those 2 that they chose were important. But they started with Fuck This Place, which is from The Blood of Gods and actually has an entire verse about Dave Brocky's death in it. So there is a little tribute to him in there as well. So what did you think when you heard this one, sir?
Yeah, and then just for editing ease, I think we'll go back to our good friend Frank Zappa, who used the term pluke as a replacement for the F-bomb. So I liked Pluke This Place. I thought it was a good song. It was interesting. The vocal was, and this is interesting because I'm assuming there's a fair amount of distance between the vocal on the original track and the vocal on this in terms of delivery, because there's a certain super rawness to a lot of the GWAR songs in terms of that. And while these are not, they're not crooning, this isn't, Pat Boone stuff in there.
Yeah, no, it's acoustic, but it's not soft.
It's soft, yeah. But it's maybe not at 11 in terms of some of the delivery. Almost Axl Rody a little bit, Rosie a little bit. And I got just a little bit of that sense. It has that kind of rock western, spaghetti western kind of thing going on to it really well. Um, it was interesting that GWAR chooses to refer to the earth as a ball of slime, whereas Alice, a la Brutal Planet, ball of hate. So we've got two pretty good descriptions of the earth that seem fairly accurate from there. So I thought that was all pretty cool. But like I said, I liked kind of the like I said, rock western kind of sound to it and delivery. Um, the only thing I didn't like about the song is I was like, man, I don't know when we talk about this how much editing I'm going to get myself into.
I've only said it once, so
yeah, because but they say it a lot, you know. And this is the chorus, and
again, not Pat Boone, the
not Pat Boone. And yeah, Pat Boone. This would, if we were doing, you know, we used to do with the Alice. We fell off of doing this too, but we used to do with Alice albums. What would be the track we wanted to have Pat Boone do off the particular album? This probably would not be it for me. I think.
I mean, I would like to hear Pat Boone do this.
It would be fun, but maybe not the one. But no, I thought it was a good start.
I'll be honest with you though, Pat Boone wouldn't do this song first and foremost because it references evolution. Okay. And also, you hit on something that I hadn't caught, but I completely hear now. Rock western, like a spaghetti western kind of thing. I didn't notice that, but as soon as you said it, completely clicks with me. Yeah. So moving off the scarier for Kelly titled songs, we come to "Gonna Kill You." So this is an older GWAR song that Dave Rocky originally sang. And this was after Mike Bishop had left the band. What's interesting about this choice of song, though, is this is actually off of, it's not my favorite song off of it, but this is off my favorite GWAR album. Carnival of Chaos was an album that they made that a lot of GWAR fans don't like, or at least very few GWAR fans would list it among their favorites. It's a longer album, and I'm going to use the word diverse cautiously. It's a more musically diverse. I mean, it's still a punk metal kind of album, but they play around with a lot of different sounds on it. The song lengths tend to be longer on there. It's a long album as a whole. I think it's like 75 minutes long. So it's not all straightforward 3-minute punk metal songs that are like, just get to the big sing along chorus kind of thing. There's a lot more going on with it. And that was actually, for some people, not what they were looking for in a GWAR record. Musically, though, I thought it's their most interesting record. It's the record I go back to the most just because there is more diversity on there. So it was interesting that they chose something from there when it's not their biggest record, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of this one, sir?
So I like this one as well. You know, when I think GWAR, I think, you know, I'm going to hear some good harmonies, and that's that happens in this song. There's some stuff going on where you've got some nice couple vocals layering in across each other in a cool way, which I would anticipate is infrequent occurrence in concerts, for instance, and those types of things. So I thought that was pretty cool. Any song that starts off with a really heartfelt, oh yeah, you know, meaner than the Kool-Aid guy. It wasn't the Kool-Aid guy, oh yeah, but it was just a good punch to the start. So you kind of it started off, you know, you're gonna be in for some fun. This was if Graham Parker had a psychological break and became an insane axe murderer, I feel that this could be a song that Graham Parker could have done justice to as well. So I mean, and I think that gets into when you talk about the musical diversity, because again, I don't think the Graham Parker sound and GWAR are, you know, synonymous by any stretch of the imagination.
Not typically,
but this had some of that sinewy stuff that Parker does really, really well in there. So I thought this one surprised me the most in terms of a sound I didn't expect. Like I said, the harmonies piece was a surprise. The fact that I kind of go, oh, I could hear Graham Parker doing this version of this song. after maybe a few drinks, but I thought that was pretty cool there. So I thought it was a cool song. It's close to probably my favorite one, I think, on
Okay.
this. But I liked them all. Spoiler here, I liked them all pretty much equally well. The last song is probably I put the other three ahead of it a little bit, just in terms of where I was at. We'll get to it when we talk about it. But there wasn't, I mean, it's an EP, it's 4 songs. You can't have a skip for one.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's just lazy at that point. But no, I enjoyed the entire thing. But this one probably came close to being my favorite. I think it probably was, but I liked them all pretty close to the same.
Nice. And like I said, this is off my favorite album because that album they try some different stuff. And again, I don't want to say diverse because it's not like you're getting, although there is a jazz piano ballad on the album too. So with female vocals and
Oh,
the whole thing. So I mean, other than that song though, I wouldn't say it's super diverse, but they try a lot of different stuff on it. And not everybody loved that. And I totally get it why that's not everybody's thing. But to me, it makes that a more interesting album. So I was actually really excited to see something off of that record on here. Now we come to another newer song, I'll Be Your Monster. This is another from the Blood of Gods record. This was probably my favorite song off of that record. So I was excited to hear this on here. And I think this is my preferred version of it now.
oh, interesting. Yeah, a jaunty little number, kind of, bluesy, in a little bit as well. And so, I mean, there's some kind of, I didn't anticipate. It's tough when you use the word diversity here because I mean, but it is. There are kind of different deliveries, distinct deliveries on particularly these first three. And it's almost got a blues, it's got a blues vibe going to it. And this was actually my second major surprise. So surprise number one, harmonies. Okay, that was a surprise. Surprise number two, I did not anticipate the word buttercup being present in GWAR lyrics, but this song proved me wrong on that. So I'm all the better for it.
Very nice, very nice. So that brings us to the fourth and final song, The Road Behind. This would probably not be a surprise to be included for most GWAR fans. This is, I'm not going to say everybody's favorite song, but it's easily GWAR's best known song. This came out during their commercial peak in the 90s when they were everywhere. This was released as a single. The video got a ton of play. I remember the single being repackaged as an EP to capitalize on the success of this particular song. So not a surprise it's on here. If there were a GWAR greatest hits album, this is something that's a, obvious inclusion into it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So, and like I said, I liked everything. I like this song too. I like the other ones before it a little bit more. I do like some of the lyrics in there. And he talks about, I smashed a million planets, but still find time to cry, kind of thing. So it's just cool stuff like that. Is really cool. And I think playing into the overarching storyline of what these guys are all about, and all of that, it helps me kind of piece some of that a little bit together on that. It never gets there, but my one little kind of twitch on this is that a lot of the big hair bands in the 80s and early 90s, and they're like, okay, we're going to now do this like almost ballady but a softer kind of run that is kind of exclusively targeted to say we just want to get something to be played on MTV and all those types of things. So it's almost got a hint of that hairband ballad mojo to it, but just a hint. This is GWAR. It's not there. It was a whiff. It was just, it's like, I don't, I don't, I think, Home Sweet Home by Motley Crue. It's not that.
No, but you're not too far off though, because I mean, not that GWAR has a radio hit, but if they did, it's this song.
Yeah.
This is the one that most people have heard.
Yeah, but like I said, it was a really fun listen. I do want to go back now and hunt each of these songs down in their native habitat and kind of listen to them in the original version and just kind of see. Particularly, I'm interested in I'll Be Your Monster, since you were saying that was your favorite off of the album, and you like this version better.
Yeah, I like this version a little bit better. I haven't listened to that album too much, I would say though. Nothing against Mike Bishop or them moving forward or anything like that. Cause to me it does make sense. Like this is again part of a bigger art collective thing. And it is hard as a fan because Dave Brockie is not just the singer of the band, but he was the main driving force. Like if ever there was an interview with GWAR, it's him that they spoke to. Like he was the in every way the front man of not just GWAR, but their entire thing that they do, whether it's the films, the comics. He's credited as the sole author of the one novel that they did and different things like that. So I've listened, I would say less to the Blood of God's record, but this was the main standout song to me off of that. And they did do a studio version of the AC/DC cover on that one because AV Club. Um, the last time I saw GWAR live, which was prior to Brockie's death, they ended the show with the Kansas cover.
Nice. So, yeah, that was good, and they showed up. So if you folks haven't seen any of this AV clubs, and I think they've stopped doing it, which is a shame, but it's a very kind of small recording space. It's not particularly large, and when these gentlemen come in full gear, it's an even tighter fit, and so it was interesting to see them in a highly enclosed environment having to do a Kansas song, which was pretty fascinating. Definitely worth watching. The video, a couple of these songs on, we'll include the YouTube playlist in the description as well, so you folks can check these out as well. A couple of them do have related videos. First song, and it is truly intriguing to watch this massive, there's this massive get up that all the gear that they're wearing and all that stuff, and then kind of subtly playing an acoustic instrument is it's a very interesting kind of look, and they seem to have a lot of fun with it and kind of got the dissonance of that pretty well. So it's pretty fun to watch as well. So fun to listen to, fun to watch. You check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially the AV Club stuff is great. Their TED Talk is really good. They also, when Brockie died, AV Club invited them to do like a tribute thing to him. And they did a song, I don't think it's on any of the records, called Odorous Died. That was his stage name, his character that he played, all about his death. And they actually, throughout the song, because not long before his death, another member of the band had passed away as well. GWAR's been around a long time, much longer than people know. They started in the 80s. They didn't hit their peak probably in mainstream consciousness until the mid 90s, but they started in the 80s. So another member had actually died prior to him, and a lot of people have been in and out of the band over the years. Another member died prior to him, so it starts off talking about the other member's death and then going into Dave Brockie's death. It's a really interesting song. All their AV Club stuff is really good, and I don't know if all of the movies or how, like, what their availability is other than buying DVDs right now. But I know Alice in Wonderland is on Amazon Prime. I don't believe it's free to watch, but it might be like $2 to rent if anybody's interested.
Yep. It's the same amount of money you'd spend to watch Troll 2.
Yeah.
So it's a better buy.
Yeah, it's the standard like $2.99 or whatever the basic rental fee usually is for those things. I know you can rent it on there. So
definitely sounds cool. No, thanks for bringing. This is a good one. This was a really fun one to go through, and I enjoyed it. And we dodged the editing challenge well. so that
I thought it'd be interesting to do one that is more current, because we tend to pick, other than when Alice comes out with something new, we tend to pick stuff that's been around for a while. So
definitely cool. All right, well, we'll be back, folks, either talking retro games or some more music, or you never know when Mike and I are going to come back in and do a squat on the issues and kind of give you folks our insights on the key events of the day. But we'll do that too. So thanks for watching, folks.
Thanks, everybody.